Hello, and welcome to another video. And in this one, I am using gouache for the very first time, which is pretty exciting. I know a bit about gouache now, but not enough to make this a real review. I don't know how the different gouache will compare, but I know a bit about watercolor paper, so I will talk about this particular journal a bit. It is from Typo. It's A4 size. It claims to be watercolor paper, but it has no, it doesn't describe what the paper is made of, and I assume from its use that it is just cellulose paper, but it is pretty cute. A lot of the Typo products do have that sort of like cute personal touch to them. However, I've had this journal for a while, and since looking online, I can't find this particular journal. So even if you did want it, I don't think it's readily available, but it is definitely not the best journal for watercolor. I wouldn't even say it's particularly good. I don't think I'll be doing much more watercolor in this, or gouache. I keep saying watercolor. I'm using gouache today. Very exciting. Very exciting. But no, this journal will come in handy. I will use it, but not for more wet media. Now, this gouache itself, it is from the Art Studio, which I believe is an Australian brand, which is quite easy for me to get here. And these paints were pretty cheap when I got them. Now, I did get them during the pandemic, I think in 2020 when we were all in lockdown, and I thought, well, I may as well get this new medium that I haven't really heard of before. New to me, I mean. I'd never really heard of gouache before. It wasn't something that had come up. And so I brought them to use them, and then had no motivation, and they stayed in their packaging for the next 3 years until here I am using it. And the brushes I am using the Filbert from the Araldo di Peldo set, acrylic set that I brought from Riot's Arts and Crafts. I really do like that brush, so I am glad to have that, and I definitely recommend it. The other brushes, however, there's a small flat and a small round. I do not know where they're from. They are unbranded, and they were in a drawer in a box that I labeled watercolor brushes. I do not know how long I've had them. I don't believe I've ever used them until now because they were completely clean. And like most things, I brought without ever using them, which is an unfortunate habit I really got into, which I'm trying to kick right now and get into using everything. So here I am using 3-year-old paint that's never been opened and brushes from who knows when in a journal that I have had for quite some time. As you can see here, I'm doing 2 different swatches. One is paint fresh from the tube, as like thick and as matte as it can be, and the other one I am adding water to see the difference, though I do believe I probably should have added a bit more water to some just to really see it. Though I think the vermilion there, you can see the distinct difference. I think I added enough water to really see the array of shades that you can get from that like rich orange red to much more lighter oranges. So I will definitely have to work on my water to paint ratio. But so far the paints are really good. I've got the white, lemon yellow, yellow ochre, vermilion, crimson red, emerald green, viridian, ultramarine blue, and Prussian blue, and then there's burnt sienna, burnt umber, and black, which will be on the other page. But as the array of colors go, this is a really good array. In the 12 colors, they are the 12 mil tubes, and I am quite glad to have them. Like I said, I don't know how these compare to other gouache. I have no idea. I have not used gouache ever before. But for my first go, I think these paints are pretty good. I like how they move both fresh from the tube and with water. I think it's a really good mix of I don't even know what I'm trying to say. It's a really good paint, I find. And this is it mostly dry. I do love how gouache dries very matte. It's a very cool effect that you don't really get so much with other colors. I'm glad that I have this, and I'm so looking forward to doing more with it. But this paper, I should say, is not the best, and I will not be using it for wet media in the future, I believe. I may try a few different bits and pieces on it, but mostly I won't. Here I am just adding some more water to see how they re-wet, and I do believe I am using the aqua brush that I got in the Grabby box that I reviewed a little while ago, not too long ago. The aqua brush is really good. This paper is not. It is peeling very, very quickly when I tried just a little bit of scrubbing, which was really, really annoying. However, the paints themselves re-wet very, very easily. No issues there. We'll say you can see there's a slight bit of bleed through, not onto the other page, but onto the back of the page. And that's just from adding a little bit more water. So this paper really can't cope with the strenuous needs of watercolor or even gouache. So I do not recommend it for that. And there is definitely a side that you are supposed to paint on. Now I'm trying to paint on the smooth side because I do know that hot press is something that a lot of people use for your watercolor, and I wondered how it would work with gouache, but I do not think that this paper is designed to be hot press. I think it is just a smooth backside of a very toothy paper, because the paint was terrible on it compared to the other side, which was fairly decent until you tried to re-wet or scrub where it could not handle that. But I definitely do not think painting the back is a good idea. It came out quite terribly. I am not a fan of the backside of this paper, which is understandable. There are a lot of papers, I believe, that you can only really use one side. However, saying that, these paints still look really good. It does not flow as easy. It's a bit harder to work on, but they're really, really nice colors. And they're really rich colors. All these colors are really, really rich, and I am super happy to have them, super excited to work with them. But yes, I will not be doing any more of wet medium, especially on the back side of these papers. And I don't think just in general. This paper can be very good for other things, but wet media, not so much. As you can see, it has warped significantly. And I don't believe I used too much liquid. There's a bit there, but it's warped extremely difficult. Like, it'd be very difficult to work on if it kept warping like that. However, I still decided to give this side a go. I wanted to do a little painting to really test out the different capabilities. So I did a wet on wet there, just to see how it works. I haven't done a lot of watercolor in a while, and using the gouache like a watercolor is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but it was a lot of fun. The only issue was once I put down that red there, it was really hard to get it to move. I do think that is the paper to blame. I don't know so much if it is the gouache itself. I will test it on better paper. I do have better paper, but I'm very intimidated to use it. I'm sure there are a lot of people like that who are starting out, and you keep hearing what you want. You can have cheapish paints on good paper and it'll look really good, but that does not stop it from being very intimidating to use that good paper. It's a bit of a conundrum. But yeah, I definitely want to see if the gouache would move better on better paper, if it liked that wet on wet style, because I do quite like the versatility of being able to do that very watercolory effect on the wet on wet style. And I love that there is also that much more thicker matte quality to it that allows you to make that sort of like variations between, like a faint sky but thick, heavy mountains. And I do really enjoy using gouache, so I'm definitely going to use this more. see how it goes, see how I feel about it, see what I can improve. And if you have any tips on how to use gouache, I would definitely appreciate them. I've been watching a lot of other YouTubers' videos to try and discover how it works. But mostly, I think a lot of skill just comes from experimentation and practice. Like, you can watch these videos till the cows come home, but unless you do it yourself, you're not gonna improve. But no, it's definitely a lot of fun, and I really, really do like the versatility of gouache, and I love how it dries matte. Like, you don't get that in a lot of other mediums. I do have to apologize for the camera setup and not showing the whole picture. I am still kind of working on that. Every time I think I'm like, oh yeah, I've got this down pat, I rewatch these videos while doing the voiceover and I'm like, oh man, there is a whole heap of that painting just not on display there. But yeah, this is just like sort of like a rush video just to test out the different paints. But no, I really, really, really did enjoy this. I am super excited that I finally tried gouache. I definitely recommend it, even if you can get like a cheap gouache set. Not too cheap, because too cheap is just not going to work the way it should at all. But a reasonably priced, lower end budget gouache set to start with, I think would be really good. Like, if you haven't tried it, you may not even like how gouache works, so that's why you should always go for like a cheaper version first. But I'm very excited to practice with this and see where it goes. And yeah, I just like sort of slapped this little painting together just to test it out. It is not my best work, but it is a lot of fun, and I really do enjoy these paints. So I just used a small range of colors here, just 5 out of the 12, but it's actually a really nice painting. Maybe I'll do a follow-up where I use the other paints and not those ones, just to see how I can work with it. It's still a little wet there because I have no patience whatsoever. And once again, the red sort of bled through. I think it's the same crimson color that bled through. I don't know if there's something particularly rich with that paint, or I just like to go over hard with the water just to make it just soak through this page. But in any case, I really, really did enjoy this. I definitely recommend gouache. I hope you learned something. And if I am lucky, I will see you in the next one. Leave any thoughts or comments down below, and that's all. Bye!